From the BBC World Service, in association with ABC and Akashvani, this is Stumped.
Hello and welcome to Stumped, your intercontinental hit of news, features and debate from the quirky world of cricket. I'm Alison Mitchell in London, and between cricket very much getting into the Olympic spirit, including at a family barbecue where together with the kids we had every event from the standing long jump to the reverse high jump, aka the limbo, and I tell you what, competitive spirits really kicked in. So yes, I won't say who's we got some reigning Olympic champions now. I've got to defend a title in 4 years' time, let's just say that.
Nice to see you, Ali. Brett Sprague here in Sydney, where I'm pleased to say the ABC has secured radio broadcast rights for the next 7 years of basically all Australian cricket. So test matches, all the internationals, men's and women's, as well as the men's Big Bash League for the first time in a while. So it's all very exciting amidst that backdrop of the Olympics, of course, as you mentioned, and being deep in the winter football season here. It's a reminder that a big summer of cricket is not too far away.
This is Charu Sharma for Akashvani. I'm in Mumbai today. There's a function to celebrate the life of one of my very, very close friends who unfortunately passed away last year, but I'm happy to be here in Mumbai to assist him in a hotel room with crazy kind of lighting, which perhaps reflects the mood of Indian women's cricket, who went down to Sri Lanka in the Asia Cup final. That's a bit of a lament. And of course, we also are sorry to lose one of our cricket icons, but more on that later.
Yep, good to have you back, Charu, as well. And I look forward to all of that cricket in Australia, Spriggy, in the summer. Great news for ABC, that. And we are going to talk later in the show about Sri Lanka's women who have won the Asia Cup for the first time. Could that be a pivotal moment for them going forwards? But first of all, we'll start with England's men, because their head coach of the white ball team, Australian Matthew Mott, is gone. The ECB statement said officially that he has stepped down. Marcus Trescothick will take charge on an interim basis when England play Australia for white ball games in September. Now, Mott's tenure started off well when he teamed up with the new captain at the time, Jos Buttler, and England won the T20 World Cup in 2022. But since then, they exited the 50-over World Cup in 2023 early with only 3 wins out of 9. And then this year they were beaten by eventual winners India in the T20 World Cup semi-final. First up, I just wonder, Brett and Charu, did it come as a surprise to either of you in Australia and India? I mean, he was asked to take over a World Cup winning team that had been led brilliantly by Owen Morgan at a time when white ball cricket ceased to be prioritised. So he thought it was never, Charu, going to be an easy act for him to follow.
No, it wasn't. But I'm frankly surprised, because this sounds a bit of a knee-jerk reaction. All teams can't win all matches all the time. And chopping and changing coaches, yes, I know it happens in other sports as well, sometimes a little whimsically, does send a very bad signal. And especially because he had, after all, won a World Cup for the UK team, for the England team. I'm certainly surprised, even disappointed on behalf of Matthew Mott. And I just don't think it's sending very good signals, especially because a replacement is not yet, should we say, firmed. And to have a temporary arrangement sounds ridiculous. So, yeah, I do think this is a somewhat unnecessary knee-jerk reaction.
The biggest knock on Matthew Mott, and I will say I've been fortunate enough to work with Matt on commentary in the past and speak to a lot of people in the Aussie Women's program that was very successful and continues to be. The biggest knock on Matthew Mott was that he's very plans-based, data-driven coach. And there's perhaps no better example than the 50-over World Cup game last year in Mumbai when they bowled first against South Africa with just the one
degrees.
spin. I think it was Adil Rashid. Yeah, tough conditions as well. They suffered their worst ever ODI defeat. And I think it was at that point the coach said, well, we bowled first because historically, supposedly, you're a better chance of winning at this ground. Good leaders are typified by their cricket instincts, whether it's captain or coach. And you can argue whether which of those is more significant in this case, but I know there would have been a bit of doubt internally. There certainly was a lot of criticism at the time, sure, but I think we'll come back to moments like that perhaps as part of the undoing for Matthew Mott. Notwithstanding, he did win a World Cup.
As regards who could be the new coach, questions were immediately asked of former captain Owen Morgan, of course, thinking he's been out of the side now for a little while. Would he want to go into coaching? And he has said straight away the timing's not right for him to take over, and he's got a new young family as well. And of course, he's doing a lot of commentary and enjoying that for now. Andrew Flintoff, I mentioned him earlier, currently head coach of the Northern Superchargers. He's, of course, garnered attention because he was brought into the England white ball coaching staff by Rob Key, good friend of his. And ECB chair Richard Thompson is also close to Flintoff. He managed his career as chair of the talent agency that Flintoff is part of. So that's sort of being looked at insofar as, that could raise questions of conflict of interest, or at least being an uncomfortably sort of close type of appointment if they went for him. But he's only just starting out at Northern Superchargers in terms of that head coach role. Jonathan Trott, of course, former England bat, who has had great success getting Afghanistan to the T20 World Cup semi-final, although he has just taken a job as head coach in the SA20. There's Mike Hussey, who has been involved. Of course, he was part of the backroom staff when England won the T20 World Cup under Matthew Mott, and he's coaching in the 100 as well. And Kumar Sangakkara is another one. Of course, he's been director of cricket at Rajasthan Royals, so has a bit of a relationship with Jos Buttler, but whether he would want an international head coach's role, which is different to director of cricket, and of course, he also does broadcast work as well. He is based in England, though, largely. Now, history in the last week for Sri Lanka after their women's team beat India to win their first T20 Asia Cup in front of a jubilant home crowd in Dambulla. Sri Lanka won the final by 8 wickets, and what a win it was, because they were chasing 166, the highest target that any team has ever successfully chased in a final of a women's T20 international event. And they stopped a dominant India side, winning the trophy for what would have been at the 8th time for them. Now, if you want to know just what it meant to Sri Lanka, I would say go and have a look on social media at the celebrations of the crowd in Dambulla. It was quite something, and even more remarkable when you consider that the Sri Lanka women didn't play a single match between March 2020 and January 2022 during the pandemic. And they had to come through qualifying to even make the upcoming T20 World Cup in October. Well, let's bring in Estelle Vasudevan, a freelance sports journalist from Colombo, who was at the final. Hi, Estelle, and welcome to Stumped. Can you just describe for us that final and what it was like watching Sri Lanka win it?
A couple of days later, it's still very difficult to kind of digest what happened because it was completely unexpected. I don't think anybody, maybe apart from the team, was expecting that result going into that game, because India had been so dominant and had played so well throughout this year. Sri Lanka had played well, but still you kind of had the kind of doubt whether they would be able to go one above India. It was an amazing result. I think the fact that it was a surprise maybe made it even better, because I think that the chase after Athapattu got out, everything happened so fast that you couldn't quite understand what was happening, even in the press box. People were just surprised, right? There wasn't any other feeling other than surprise, because you couldn't quite fathom what was happening out there.
Well, so often, I mean, I've watched Sri Lanka women's cricket for a long, long time, and with Chamari Athapattu being so dominant, so often, in a run chase, if she dominates with the bat, then Sri Lanka win. If she falls early, then Sri Lanka fall away. But, the score was, 94 for 2 when she was out, so there was still a lot of work needed to be done, and it was Samra Wickrama, wasn't it, who stood up?
Yes, 72 or 48 was the equation, and it did feel like it was just a bit too far. I mean, in the semifinals, Sri Lanka had needed 20 of 20, and they still kind of struggled to get there. Samara Wickrama, it's incredible to talk about her because she'd put down 2 crucial catches in the first innings, which had cost Sri Lanka just over 50 runs, because Mandana and both Mandana and Risha Ghosh both got runs. And then to come out and play an innings like that, it was incredible. I mean, I've watched her since she was maybe 15. I've never seen her bat like that before. The way she was able to clear the boundary and just take the attack to India. I remember Athapattu got out, and the next over they got like 5 runs. And then from that point, Samara Wickrama attacked, and she was able to clear the boundary a couple of times, and that just put the pressure right back on India, because it kind of sent that message that Sri Lanka aren't going to take this laying down. They're going to come out aggressive and push for the win.
Well, Estelle, congratulations once again, remarkable win. But what's that, do you think, going to do to Sri Lankan women's cricket hereafter? Because winning, and particularly at home against a really big team, and as Alison was pointing out earlier, you had to go through qualifying, for heaven's sake, and then you go on to win a major title. it's quite remarkable. Is it likely to have long-term implications for women? I know already there's a big reward that's been promised, I hope, delivered to the team.
Well, I hope it does have a long-term impact. It does feel like it will, because growing up in the 90s, I didn't see any cricket on the TV, any women's cricket on the TV. Obviously, with the 96 World Cup for the men, we were all very big cricket fans, but we didn't, the idea of a women's cricket team wasn't really something in our reality, right? But now, and I think over the last couple of years, with games being televised, with resources being more accessible, it has certainly become a more sought after, almost as a career for a lot of girls. And I think with this, I saw a lot of little girls coming in, like a lot of women bringing in their kids for the game, a lot of women back home watching the games. Whereas, I've had loads of friends come up to me and tell me, they haven't been watching cricket that much. A lot of women, I mean. And then this team is making them want to watch cricket, right? And I think that's going to trickle down to the young women. And, you saw the youngsters like Kavisha Dilhari performing, and surely there are lots of kids out there thinking they want to do something like that for Sri Lanka as well.
That's Estelle Vasudevan, sport journalist from Colombo. Next on Stumped, can cricket help to rehabilitate inmates in prison? We talked recently on Stumped about the Global ICC Development Awards, and we're going to hear now from another of the winners, Mexico. They won the Development Initiative Award for pioneering multiple projects, including sending a team to the Street Child Cricket World Cup in India. But they were also recognised for their unique Cricket in Prisons programme, where they deliver sessions to inmates across Mexico City. Ben Owen is the chair of the Mexico Cricket Association, and Anna Cecilia Septién-Goddard plays for the women's national team. And they've been telling me about the Cricket in Prisons program.
Here in Mexico, we have, in the prison system, they have many different programs with arts, handcraft, employment options, sports. So they have had the content. And he proposed to include cricket in the system curriculum. And they started with one center, one jail. Some others joined. And now we are, how it works is people from the sports ministry, they have learned cricket with us, and they go weekly to different prisons, and they have these sessions with the inmates in which they play cricket. Sometimes they have less people, sometimes they have more people, so they have to adapt the game. So they play there in a weekly basis mainly. And sometimes we from the federation, us and some other volunteers come and help them with doubts, with improving their technique, or showing some other information, videos, and letting them have more information about the game. And they are liking it a lot. So we are growing it. we are expecting it to grow and to go into more centers within this year and in the years to come.
Ben, were there any reservations on your part to get involved with prisoners? and actually, from a serious perspective, what level of prison category are we talking about here?
Yeah, we're talking a mixed bag of pretty much everybody. It wasn't my first question. It was my first fear, I suppose, was being able to deliver a feasible program if we ourselves were being held accountable to do all of the courses, all of the training, all of the follow-up. That was our only reservation, apart from the usual worries that any associate member has, is how can we get more kit? How can we get more volunteers? But I would say the first session I went to, it was without a doubt the most moving experience I think I've had in cricket. Anna can back me up on this. It's just, you're bringing so much joy to these people who've, for one reason or another are inside. The problem that we always have is that they say, can you come back next week? Can you come back on Thursday? And, it's always a case of, can we commit? What can we really commit to realistically in 2024? And so we took the decision very early to explain to CONADE, the Ministry of Sport in Mexico, that we were very limited in terms of volunteers and feet on the ground, as it were. So the program's always been started on that basis that the CONADE sports educators would go in and run these sessions, and that we would go in as often as we can, but it's not possible to go to every single session. So I think our responsibility now would be follow up, ensure that the trainers have constant updates, bring new people on board. We've just got a great kit deal here in Sri Lanka, so that shouldn't be an issue. But I think it's always a case of just being realistic about what you can possibly achieve in a short space of time. So I think 2025, the program will grow enormously. I think 2026, and after a while, these sort of initiatives have their own kind of momentum and they look after themselves. So our job, I suppose, is getting the thing going, supporting the program at the beginning, and then hopefully it will have its own momentum and fly from there.
Anna, what impact is the program having on the inmates directly?
They report us that they are improving their relation skills because they used to have more problems within themselves. And since cricket, I don't know if it's only because of that or for sure they have other things going on, but they have less fights. So they are working better together. They are improving their teamwork, not only while playing their sports, but also like in their day-to-day life, like have more respect for themselves and like live in a more peaceful and comfortable environment. So that's the main impact, no? Like the direct thing that they report us that has happened.
What are you finding the facilities are, Ben, when you go into prisons? Because I imagine it can't always be easy to deliver a sports project in any given environment.
No, but I think that's one of the great benefits of cricket is that you can adapt it to whatever size of facility you've got. You can teach cricket in a squash court if you want. It can't always be Lord's. I just went to go and see the Galle cricket ground here in Sri Lanka. It's one of my favourite places. I've always wanted to see it. But, we are often space deprived in schools. And then we're doing this in the Mexico school system. They might have a concrete playground. Some of them might have a grass area. But in the prisons, we're training. They have a big facility in one of the female prisons. We're not, troubled by space there. But one of the smaller prisons that we went to, the space was very, very limited. But they've adapted the game whereby, if it hits the wall, you can catch it, one-handed. They invent their own rules, which is
Innovate.
really, really, yeah.
Yeah. Are you seeing any evidence, perhaps, that when an inmate comes to the end of their term in prison, that cricket might actually be something that they want to continue with on the outside?
The cricket program is inside a CONADE program, which is part of that. Like they are training them to get a certificate for being official trainers. So they are teaching them like physical activation, how like medical and like how to take care of the body in a sports way. And one of the main sports, or the only sport, actually like team sport that they are using for this is cricket. So yes, they will have their certificate for being official professional trainers, and they now know cricket. No, and cricket is a sport that is not well known in Mexico, so they might not have a competition. No, so they might open their own cricket program, so people will be interested in what is this? This is a new sport. Okay, it's interesting, no, and they might come. So it is great to, besides the impact that you were asking me us before, like they will have this impact also, or this potential of impact regarding employability, which is very important for their reinsertion and contributing and being part of the society again. No, so that's that's one of the things that we like the most.
Well, that was Ana Cecilia Septiun Goddard, who plays for the women's national team of Mexico, and Ben Owen, president of the Mexico Cricket Association. Now, that is all we've got time for on this week's Stumped. My thanks to Brett Sprigg, Charu Sharma, and to all of you for listening. And we'll speak to you again next week. Until then, bye for now.